that passed in 2019, and then there's been subsequent rulemaking processes about how you protect driver pay and ensure a minimum pay standard. So what for me, that's one of the biggest issues facing the industry. I represent thousands of drivers that work for Uber and Lyft and the for hire vehicle app companies, and so my question is, how do you firstly, how do you protect driver pay? What is next for the TLC in protecting driver pay? And secondly, thinking about the cap on new vehicles on the road, new for hire vehicles on the road, a lot of my drivers in my district have talked about the creation of a black market and of abuses that the cap that was meant for limiting congestion has actually created a black market and is hurting our folks on the ground. What are your thoughts about how we can address that and protect these individuals who are the fabric of our communities?
Well, thank you for that. You hit the nail on the head. Those are always issues and challenges that are going to be continuous. We are at that point now where we put regulations in place, and I'm happy to say I did vote for them. So my record stands for itself. I've been on the commission for the last 6.5 years, as I mentioned in my opening statement, and I've heard a lot of testimony over the years from a lot of different people and a lot of sad stories. And we've done a lot to try to address a lot of those things, starting with accessibility, the diminished medallion values, driver pay concerns. And the last set of regulations that we passed for driver pay, I thought were fair, and they were mindful of all the pieces to the puzzle, because it's not just one thing in a vacuum. Everything has an impact to another part of the industry, if you will. So I think all the things that the commissioners past and present have put in place are things that have been thoughtful, analyzed, and I think we need to be mindful going forward that we don't go into a path that could set us backwards. So I think we just need to be vigilant and be mindful and thoughtful in our decisions. Thank you.
Anytime you're working in an industry that has government regulation, the only entity that can ensure that the individual worker is protected is going to be that government entity. And therefore, because we all know that the company that's not even at arm's length as they used to be, but they're living up in the metasphere, doesn't care about the individual driver. It's just another code, just another number in their electronic dashboard. So when you have these situations, the only protection, the only entity that can protect the driver and ensure that they're going to be represented is going to be the government entity. And therefore, that is the responsibility of the Tax and Limousine Commission in New York City, to protect and ensure that the workers are getting the fair shake of the work for the work that they do. It's pretty simple.
But do you have any specific thoughts on what the TLC could be doing? What kind of policies can be pursued to protect these workers?
They recently passed some regulations, which I was supportive of, and it was a step in the right direction. And we have to continue in that direction. We have to ensure that we have to ensure that any time, it's almost like we have to police the apps. They're going to continue to try to maximize their profit at the expense of the rider and the driver. That's what their investors want. That's what their executives want. That's what motivates them. And so we're on the other side. We have to protect the other side. We have to protect the riders and we have to protect the drivers. And so we're going to have to do any and all regulations. But you're asking me, one of the reasons why I'm answering this way is because as we're sitting here, they have their computer guys trying to figure out how they can play with their algorithms so that they can get more for themselves at the expense of the driver and the riding public. So we have to continually be vigilant in trying to anticipate a plan, or even in my case, try to be proactive so that we can offset that and that we protect the drivers and the riding public. So, and that's all we have to do and continue to do that. And so whatever
you.
we have to do, we're going to say we need to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as we all know, most drivers are immigrants with modest means. They typically well, as Mr. Bader shared firsthand experience, they work pretty long and hard hours to make ends meet. So it is important that we support drivers to make a decent living. I think the 2022 taxi meter rate increase and the 2023 driver pay increase and changes in the calculation for the for hire vehicle driver uh, pay have had positive impact on driver pay, and those are areas that TLC should continue to be vigilant about and keep a supervision of.
Thank you. And I appreciate that this is a huge challenge, especially for residents of your district. So, echoing the sentiments of my co-panelists, I think that one area that I think TLC is doing well handling this on is by prioritizing kind of low number of licenses, like 6 or fewer licenses, to distribute smaller numbers so that there isn't this kind of hoarding problem. I also think that there's a bit of optimism through the Medallion Relief Program, as well as medallions kind of coming out of storage because of the Medallion Relief Program, as well as the increase in demand for transportation services as we somewhat emerge from the economic impacts of COVID. So hopefully it's looking up in your district as well.